good morning, everybody. It's Bobby, and I have a lesson for you today that I've been itching to deliver. And it's a lesson that, if better understood, would greatly reduce the number of disappointments experienced by golfers of every level, and will explain why it is that someone can't play as well as they think they ought to, and why it is that there's such a big difference between someone's best and someone's worst, and why it is that someone can be such a lion in casual play and yet a lamb when faced with a scorecard and a pencil and a public display of their score. And beyond that even, why it is that for so many people there seems to be an upward limit to how many shots better than their typical average they shoot on the front before then throwing the whole thing away on the back nine. What could that be? Well, eliminating all else, one only has one's own mind to look into, and that is their point of focus, and that is what I want to share with you today. And to do so, I want to tell you about a good friend and mentor of mine. His name is Barry Clayton, and I worked under him for almost 20 years at the Weston Mission Hills in Palm Springs, California. Now, Barry is an excellent player, and he can go really, really low when he plays because he's such a good putter. Now, you can be a scratch handicap, shoot 69 or 70 just by being a great ball striker, but to shoot really low, you got to be able to roll the ball, and Barry can. And I'll never forget the time we were playing with two resort guests, two people participating in the golf school. And Barry birdied the first 5 holes. Now, this is a Pete Dye course. This isn't a Donald Ross course. You know, Donald Ross likes to make his first 2-3 holes easy because back in the day they didn't have driving ranges. And whenever he designed a golf course, he wanted to give the golfer an opportunity to get warmed up before having to face the more difficult holes. But not Pete Dye. These were 5 tough holes. And on number 1, Barry made about a 30-footer, birdie. Number 2, about a 25-footer, birdie. Number 3, about an 18-footer. In other words, he's having to make putts. Now, the average guy would 2-putt all of those and be even par, but not Barry. He's 5 under, and that's the difference because of putting. Now, I'm going to tell you something. I've never seen Barry have a bad day putting. And you might say, oh, that's hyperbole. How could that possibly be? I'll tell you how that is. There's a difference between bad putting and having a bad day putting. He never had a bad day putting because he wasn't thinking about results. This is what he said to me constantly. Let that ball hang if it wants to. I can't control whether it goes in or not. The only thing I can control is what I'm going to control, and that's the quality of the stroke I put on it. If I put a good stroke on it, I've done everything I can, and to worry with something that's completely out of my control is not healthy for me and not healthy for my golf game. Now, I didn't really understand that until sometime later when he and I went to go play in a tournament away from home. And we got, typically what I would do is I would go to the driving range to warm up, and he would go to the putting green. Well, this day I decided to follow him to the putting green, and when I got there, he dropped 5 balls, and he just started stroking them. And they went all the way across the green, not anywhere close to a hole, and I thought, what are you doing? I go, what are you aiming at? He says, I'm not aiming at anything. I'm working on my stroke. I'm just keeping the target out of it until I feel a tension-free, relaxed, elegant swing. And when I can roll that ball to no particular target with a relaxed, tension-free, elegant stroke, then I'll add the target. But if I add the target first, then I get results-oriented, and there goes my stroke. I never get to develop a stroke. And so I always worry with developing a stroke first, and then the target after that. So he'll spend 10 minutes aiming at nothing, working on nothing, but putting together an elegant, tension-free, relaxed swing, and it served him well. Now, I have seen him miss. In fact, one time I saw him miss 3 4-footers in 9 holes. But his reaction to those misses were far different than anyone else I'd ever seen. He missed that first one, and went by the hole, and he went, I thought that would break a little. In other words, it didn't have an effect on him. He'd put a good stroke on it, but it didn't go in. So he wasn't going to torture himself with excuses or thoughts or be angry about the results, because the results are not what he's focused on. He can't control those. He missed the next one, and he missed the next one. Now, why is this so important? Because in all 3 of those, that didn't change his method or his ambition or anything about his demeanor, even though he missed those putts that he never misses. He missed 3 of them in 9 holes. Now, the typical person, if they miss one short putt, they'll jab at the next one too. The next one will look doubly hard. If they happen to miss that one too, then suddenly the longer putts are going to find themselves finishing at greater lengths from the hole. And in fact, I can't recount the number of times I've seen a person's entire game from tee to green just spiral out of control as a result of missing one short putt. And it's because too often the individual is thinking about results and not that which they can control, and that is simply the quality of the stroke they put on it. Now, that should serve as a metaphor for our entire golf game, and I'm going to leave it right there. because I don't like to make these videos too long. I'm going to share another video next week as a continuation of this to demonstrate how this same thing can be applied to rest of golf, not just putting. I hope you'll hang in there with me. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.